Crash issue 14 was the March 1985 issue. This cover features the game Everyone's a Wally, with the characters of Wally, Wilma, Tom, Dick and Harry, and Herbert the Baby. That was a particularly high-scoring game in this issue, so let's see what the others were. Two games are in joint 9th place in this issue. The first is The Saga of Eric the Viking, published by Mosaic Publishing and written by Pete Austin of Level 9. This is a text adventure based on the book by Terry Jones, best known for Monty Python. In this game you take the role of Eric and have to find and rescue your family who have been kidnapped by evil dog fighters. Crash described this as a thoroughly well-presented software package, with a distinct and imaginative theme delivered in a competent and attractive manner. They found the character set highly legible, but did comment that the number of pictures appeared to limit the quantity of text. They gave this an overall score of 8 out of 10, and the scores averaged to 82%. The graphics are colourful, and there's a picture for every location. It's just a shame they take so long to draw. However, they do create a good atmosphere and sense of place. The game is responsive, although can be brief in its descriptions. A game that looks to be worth playing if you like text adventures. Also in 9th place is SpiderMan. This was released by Adventure International and written by Brian Howarth, Tia Monermuck, Scott Adams and Al Milgram. This is the second game in the Quest Probe series and a follow-up to The Hulk, reviewed in issue 8. Crash described the graphics as superlative, stating that the mix of comic book hero, fascinating plot and super graphics will ensure the game's success. Their only criticism is that picking up an object will cause the location picture to redraw, resulting in an awkward flash. They gave this game an 8 out of 10 score overall, and taking all the scores of percentage was 82%. However, despite this, they also gave it a crash smash. This is a game I played back in the day, and slightly preferred it over its predecessor The Hulk. There are graphics for every location, although many are repeated, and they draw quickly. The game is responsive but can be quite terse, and it's a shame that you tend to get a stock, nothing special response most of the time when examining items. However, the puzzles are reasonable and many involve Spider-Man skills. Worth a go if you're a fan of Spider-Man. In 8th place we have The Biz, published by Virgin and written by Chris Seavey. This is a strategy simulation game based on being in a band trying to make it in the music industry. One Crash reviewer described this as the most enjoyable strategy simulation they had played so far. They said it had a charm and fascination that goes beyond other games of this type. Another reviewer described it as addictive, despite having no graphics to speak of and being written in BASIC. They gave this a score of 83%. It's got awful presentation, but yet somehow the game captures the trials and tribulations of starting a band well. There's a sense of humour to the game, and despite the lack of graphics, there's something quite fun about it. One of the few decent text-based strategy games. In 7th place is Brian Bloodax, published by The Edge and written by Charles Bystrom and Jack Wilkes. This is a quirky platform-style arcade adventure with you taking the role of a Viking called Brian Bloodax. Crash summarised this as an excellent game, which is representative of the high class of software which has been produced today. They found the game fun to play, even whilst finding that the idea of the platform had become a bit overworked by this point. They described the graphics as excellent and liked the tune playing throughout. They gave this a score of 86%. This was a game I enjoyed back in the day. It has a quirky sense of humour and definitely a hint of Monty Python inspiration in the tune and in the death sequence. Although many of the rooms seem somewhat samey, there's a wide variety of antagonists to avoid and objects to collect and use. Not the best arcade adventure, but certainly a lot of fun to play. In 6th place we have Castle Blackstar, originally released by SCR Adventures but re-released by CDS Microsystems, written by Mark Shepard, Andrew Cummins and Jeff Richardson. This is a text adventure with no graphics in a fairly typical fantasy setting. Your main objective is to return a power orb to the goddess Artemis whilst getting points for collecting treasures along the way. Crash found the descriptions to be evocative and the text to form a good narrative. They felt it was designed well with ingenious and logical problems and a good vocabulary. Despite the fact that they gave this game an overall score of 8.5 out of 10, higher than Spider-Man, they did not give this game a crash smash. Taking the average scores as a percentage gives this 89%. I hope this game has depth to it that I haven't yet seen, because on first impressions it is not impressive at all. It's text only with very basic presentation. The game does not always respond to key presses, leading to you having to delete and retype your entry. It doesn't really give interesting responses when you examine things, and one wrong step at the start seems to take you into impenetrable woodland which you get stuck in. I'm not sure I'd recommend this even to text adventure fans. There are two games in joint 4th place. The first is Project Future, released by Micromania, written by Dominic Wood, the author of Cosmic Kanga from issue 7. This is a maze game set on a spaceship, with you searching for self-destruct codes that will enable you to destroy the ship before it collides with Earth. Crash felt that there was some indescribable quality about this game that makes you want to play on and on. They described the overall feel as a well thought out game that has a lot to offer. They found the graphics excellent with good use of colour and the sound well used but not overused. They gave the game 90% and a crash smash. Although really just a 2D exploration game, it's got quite a lot of charm to it. It reminds me somewhat of games like Attic Attack and Sabrewolf in gameplay, although with quite a different setting. The movement of your character is smooth and the game is colourful, whilst positioning things well to avoid tribute clash. Not a game I'd played before, but worth taking a look at. Next, also in 4th place is Moonster, published by Incentive Software and written by Timothy Walter, Philip Taglioni and Peter Carter. This is a conversion of the Moonster arcade machine, a fast-paced 2D shoot-'em-up. Crash described this as a very, very close copy of the original, and one of the best shoot-'em-ups for an age. They found the level of difficulty to be well pitched, and felt it to be a game you would come back to and find hard to leave when you're playing it. Another reviewer described it as brill, with graphics that are clear, precise, and accurate to the original. Although thinking it brave of Incentive to release such an old-fashioned shoot-'em-up, this game is great fun. They gave this 90% and a crash smash. Quite simply, this is the best Invaders variant for the Spectrum I've ever played. Everything about it just has such a high degree of polish. It plays fast, is superlatively smooth and addictive. For an Invaders game, I'm not sure this has ever surpassed. Highly recommended. 2 games are in joint 2nd place this month. First is Gyron, published by Firebird in their Gold range, and written by Ricardo Pinto, Dominic Pryor, Philip Mocken and Mark Whiten. This is a 3D arcade maze game where you have to penetrate and destroy an enemy computer complex whilst avoiding large moving balls and towers that shoot you. A prize of a sports car was offered to the first person to complete the game. Crash found the graphics breathtaking, but the game itself hard to play, and one needing a lot of time and patience in order to get anywhere. They described it as a very brilliant piece of programming that's been very highly polished and perfected. They gave this 96% for graphics, and an overall rating of 93% and a crash smash. An interesting 3D maze game, and one that I did own back in the day. I found this hard back then, and not very enjoyable, and I've got a similar view now. I can see a good concept in the game, and it is executed well, but the game just doesn't really do anything for me. But if you like maze games, this may be worth a play. The other 2nd place game this month is the 3rd game from Microgen, starring Wally Week. This is Everyone's a Wally, written by Chris Hinsley and Neil Strudwick. This is the 3rd in the Wally Week series of games, being a follow-up to Automania from issue 7 and Pyjamarama from issue 10. In this game you can control not only Wally, but his wife Wilma and his friends Tom, Dick and Harry. The objective is to collect a set of letters that will allow you to open the safe in the bank and pay the gang. Crash found that the ability to control 5 characters was a major advance in the game idea. They found the graphics to be even more detailed than the previous Wally games, although noted that the variety of colours resulted in frequent attribute clash. They gave the game 96% for both addictive qualities and value for money, with an overall score of 93% and a crash smash. Like the previous 2 in the series, this was a game that I played many times back in the day, and I've returned to often since then. The original game even came with a specially recorded song on the tape. Whilst I felt that Pyjamarama was slightly more graphically polished, and to be ultimately a better game, the variety to the gameplay of this game really prevented it from getting formulaic. A game that's worth playing. Finally, in 1st place we have Wizard's Lair, written by Steve Crow and published by Bubble Bus Software. Crash drew many comparisons between this game and Attic Attack, but found distinct differences. They found the graphics to be more varied and colourful, and the game to be faster, with much more going on. They summarised it as a brilliant piece of programming, a winner, and rated it as very good value for money and highly recommended. They gave this an overall score of 95% and of course a crash smash. My first impressions were that this was an Attic Attack rip-off, although playing the game showed that this has a lot more depth to it. It's taken many of the great features of that game and added to them to give this game a feel of its own. The game's good to play and the sound effects complement the graphics well. This is definitely a game I will return to and explore further. If you have enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to see more videos about retro games from Norlogic Retro.